Welcome back, everyone, to the HeatWave Podcast, part of the Roundtable Sports Network. My name is Anthony Aguirre, Miami Heat and Miami Hurricanes beat writer. That's part of the reason why it took me a minute to record again because, man, there's just so much activity going on in Coral Gables that I have to stay tuned. It's just simple. I have to stay tuned. And if you love some sports, football, of course, some basketball here, some baseball there, then please scan the QR code and you could easily find the site, explore all articles, and simply become a member. Just click the join button and be a member. It is absolutely free. No subscriptions, no paywalls, no fees, none of that kind of stuff. We are free. Just simply become a member. Just simply create an account with Google. It's easy, and then boom, you're a member, and you get to stay tuned with all the latest stuff with Now, you want to stick to the pros, you want to stick to the NBA, then please scan the QR code and be a member of the Miami Heat community. Simple again. Click the join button, create an account. Simple as that. Nothing else. So please, I highly encourage you guys to please scan the QR codes, be a member of the Miami Heat and the Miami Hurricanes community. It'll help us a lot, and we simply appreciate the support. Now, the last time I recorded, of course, we all knew the Miami Heat were going to be in the lottery. We knew that there was a great chance they'd be at 13, and that's exactly what happened. They finish at 13. Now, of course, the Washington Wizards get the number one overall pick. The the consensus or expectation projection is that BYU Cougars forward AJ DePanza will be the number one overall pick. And then we'll see how the domino effects from there. You got Cam Boozer up there. You got Darren Peterson. This class is supposed to be one of the deepest class in NBA history. Of course, we'll see which players stick around because there are some players who are, even though they're at the combine, that they are evaluating all options because of course these kids nowadays they get paid a lot of money in college right away, so there's no urgency to go to the NBA anymore. I mean, we just saw the two Florida forwards in Thomas and Alex Condon. Like, those guys went back to Florida for a senior year when they were both projected as first rounders. So that NIL, the NIL money it does something. It does something. But we'll see how the Heat, they handle this. Of course, they don't control their own destiny because the teams ahead of them can simply, you know, cause just something wacky if they make a trade or they pick someone that maybe the Heat wanted. These are things that the Heat have to account for picking this low in the lottery. Now, the last time the Heat got the 13th pick, of course, they selected Tyler Hero back in 2019. I'm not saying it was a bad pick, but it hasn't panned out the way you wanted it to either, in my opinion. But we're not trying to get too deep into that. But let's talk about maybe, see who could be there. And we're going to start with Michigan. Yaxel Lendeborg from Michigan. Now, of course, the Wolverines just won the championship, so there's obviously the winning aspect of it. I'm sure that could be a main attraction for the front office, Pat Riley, Coach Eric Spoelstra. These are some areas that, again, that could be intriguing. Now, he led the team with 15.1 points. Let me dive deeper into this real quick. On 51.5% shooting from the field, 37.2% from three-point range, 6.8 rebounds, and 3.2 assists. Now, he's listed at 6'9", which again, the main thing the Heat need is size. That has been a clear missing factor in the last 5 to 6 years. Now, getting a forward will be great, but you might need to lean more towards center But this would be a decent pickup, okay? A guy who clearly knows how to win, but just needs to adapt to a different role now because, of course, going to the Heat, you have a bunch of guys ahead of you. Now we'll see how the roster looks because there's going to be some things, there might be some changes. We'll get into that later in this episode. But this would not be a bad pick. I mean, again, a national championship, a guy who led a program to a national championship. I mean, there's gonna be a lot to like. So maybe this could be the top option. We'll see how that goes. But then, if anything, another name that's popped up is LeBaron Fillon Jr. Now, I apologize if I pronounce these names wrong. I am very, very sorry. From the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, we know Alabama is known for their football, but they got some hoops too. They got some hoops. Now, this past season, he averaged career highs really across the board. 22 points on 50.1% shooting, 39.9% from three-point range. You can give him the 40 at that point. 3.5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1.2 steals a game. That is really, really good. Now, the Heat, they do need a true facilitator. Now, of course, they've ran with Davion Mitchell for all of last season, really, at the point guard position. Then at backup, you need a legitimate backup facilitator because right now I know it could be Kaz, but we have yet to wait and see how he pans out. So maybe this could be an intriguing option behind them and a good development project. Again, there's a lot of great talent in this year's draft. You simply cannot miss in this year's lottery. Even picking at 13, you cannot miss. So again, there's going to be a lot of talks about what happens, especially because apparently the Washington Wizards are listening to offers for the number one overall pick. Now, of course, that could be intriguing, and that could really just shake up everyone's draft board because right now rumors are that Utah would be the most potential suitor for number one overall if a trade were to be done. Of course, Utah has a bunch of assets that they could give Washington that could be a legitimate offer for number one, especially in this year's class. So that would be something to look to just keep tabs on because that could really just affect how everything pans out come when NBA draft starts. Now another one that has been linked to the Miami Heat is Baylor guard Cameron Carr. Now, once again, another player who averaged career highs across the board this past NCAA season. 18.9 points on 49.4% shooting, 37.4% from three-point range, 5.8 rebounds, 2.6 assists, 1.3 blocks. I mean, for a guard to average more than a block, that is a very active guard. Of course, the Heat are all about defense, even though this past season they really trickled down in that area. But that is something, of course, that could really intrigue the Heat. Again, for any of these lottery picks, it has to be a player that can make an impact right away, of course, but can also just adapt in a certain role. Because no matter how this roster pans out, this rookie, whoever gets selected 13th overall by the Miami Heat, they're gonna have to adapt to a pretty short role compared to what they had in college. So regardless, it's got to be someone who again can bring an impact, but understands that there's a role to be played. Similar to like a VJ Edgecombe in Philadelphia, because of course he's not the star there. He has opportunities because of course when Joel Embiid was out, Paul George was out, VJ had to be the guy. But on a given basis, VJ has to adapt and simply play off Joel Embiid, play off Paul George, play off Tyrese Maxey. So something like that, where the Heat really need that level of adaptability. They need that. So that would be great. And then a final name. Again, it's still pretty early in the process. So there's gonna be a bunch of names that get drawn to the Heat, and just simply gotta just gotta keep tabs on all these players that could be in the mix. And the last name I'm going to mention right here is Texas Longhorn Dalen Swain. Now, another guy, once again, average career highs this past NCAA season, 17.3 points on 54.2% shooting, 34.4% from three-point range, 7.5 rebounds, 3.6 assists, and 1.2 steals. Now, I just mentioned three guards, but I think given what the Heat need, which is size, that this guy would be the most liable option, Yaxel, because the Heat needs size. This has been an issue again last 4 to 5 years. It's just they need size, and out of all these guys right now that I mentioned that have been linked so far, again, a lot of things can happen between now and the NBA draft. Is Yaxel? He's 6'9", so you need size to that front court. The backcourt, we'll see what happens, but you just simply need size. Now, the other side of getting this pick, do you see who is in the middle of all this? The Milwaukee Bucks. Of course, they're coming off a very terrible season. Underwhelming, riddled with injuries. They just fired Doc Rivers, which was more so finally, because respectfully to Doc Rivers, you're simply not the head coach you once were. And you want to talk about Google me? We have. And your resume isn't as spotless as you might think. So, respectfully, Doc, I don't know how you lasted that long in Milwaukee, but yeah, I'm impressed. The fact that you did. But for Milwaukee, even the owner mentioned that, listen, when we hired Taylor Jenkins, we told him straight up, Giannis may or may not be here. Now, he mentioned, but also before or even after the introductory of Taylor Jenkins was, hey, listen, the deadline to figure out this Giannis stuff is between now and the NBA draft. The NBA draft is when we figure this out. And if we don't figure it out by now, then he's probably going to stay for that season, and we'll see how it goes from there. And that's going to be interesting, because, of course, covering the Miami Heat, Giannis has been a name that we just simply have to keep tabs on all the time because of all these rumors. It could be annoying. I'm not going to lie. But that's where we are right now. And, of course, Giannis, as of this moment, he has not requested a trade. But apparently the Bucks are open for business. I'm pretty sure it was Shams who reported, or somebody, that they're open for business. I'm trying to make sure I double check this just to make sure that it was Shams. Although I'm pretty sure, because we're talking about the most connected guy in the NBA. Yes. Shams reported that the Milwaukee Bucks are open for business on trade calls and offers for Giannis entering the NBA Combine and, of course, the NBA Draft. Now, the Heat getting this lottery pick can really make a difference because they don't have the most draft assets to offer. But in a draft class that is apparently so deep, getting 2 lottery picks would be beneficial for the Milwaukee Bucks because, of course, if you trade Giannis, you are essentially rebuilding. And what does that require? Younger players. And what's better than getting 1 young lottery pick? 2 young lottery picks. So this pick could be as of service to the Milwaukee Bucks and in the trade for Giannis. This is going to take a lot of time to figure out because, of course, you have Tyler Hero extension eligible, Norman Powell free agency, Andrew Wiggins, what's he going to do? So there's going to be a lot of factors into what a package will actually look like for the Miami Heat. But getting this lottery pick could really make a difference. Even though, yes, it is low, it's 13. You might not be looking at a franchise player, but you could be looking at someone who could be a contributing factor in the long run, a cornerstone franchise piece. Someone you can build, someone that could be a piece to build around what would soon be your franchise guy, your new franchise guy. So a lot is going to happen. A lot is going to be weighted on, just what happens between now and the NBA draft. We still got a few weeks ahead of us before we get there. So this is going to be a topic that, again, that we just need to keep tabs on. And the fact that the Heat get a lottery pick, obviously missing the playoffs, it does help them to, get that asset. They have a couple of trade exceptions, of course. They have a lot more flexibility now than they have in the past. Pat Riley mentioned about that, just having more flexibility this time, entering free agency compared to the past. So these are going to be intriguing factors as to what could happen down the line. And we all know that Giannis is the main goal. We all know this. Giannis is the main goal. The Heat want Giannis. The Heat have wanted Giannis since 2020, even at a time when you thought that him leaving the Bucks was damn near impossible. But the door has been cracked open multiple times. So we'll see if he finally goes through it. But hey, we got a few weeks ahead though. Anthony Aguirre with the Miami Heat Roundtable, HeatWave Podcast. Thank you all for watching. Please hit the like button, hit subscribe, and please, once again, scan the QR codes. You got UM right here. I'll give it a moment. All right. Then the Miami Heat. Once again, scan the QR codes and please be a part of the Miami Heat and the Miami Hurricanes communities. Be a supporter of the team sites. We are absolutely free. Once again, there's no catch. There's no subscription needed, no paywalls, none of that. Just simply, we are free, no fees. Join the fastest growing sports network out here, and we'll see you next time. Thank y'all very much.